When there's stuff on your mind and it's feeling unclear, just hop on the mic and speak without fear. Let's air out.
Wow. Did you guys hear that? That was incredible. Well, incredible might not be the word you want to use, but that was... You guys wanted an intro song, and we delivered an intro song. I heard that an intro should be like your autograph or your signature to introduce the podcast, and that is an irreplaceable signature. There's no forging that. Ethan and I spent a good probably 2.5 hours figuring that out. I'll tell you, the idea I had in my head was not the same thing that ended up coming out of that. I was going in, I don't know if anyone knows the song Disco Duck by Rick Dees and the Cast of Idiots. It goes a little disco, disco duck, disco, disco duck. And that's where the Aaron Arrow came from. So I was thinking a nice disco vibe to introduce the podcast. Absolutely not what we came up with. It's sort of like I like the strings are kind of giving me like a Zelda vibe at the start. And then we transition to a garbage can falling down the stairs for the middle of it. And then at the end of it, I get like a little Mario 64 vibes. If anyone, any of the young adults played that game. I know you guys did. I don't know why I'm asking if you did. But that's it. Welcome to episode 2. We've already improved. We've got an intro song. We're a little more professional. We're not recording in a program that's going to cut me off after 30 minutes, so I can talk as long as I want now. So the last episode really exceeded my expectations. I didn't think anybody would want to listen to me talk for an hour, and really it seems like most of you that listen to it actually listen to the whole thing. I've got some stats up here if you guys are interested. We ended up with 37 plays, which again, way higher than I ever thought. I was expecting maybe 4 or 5 people. The retention time, average listen time was 55 minutes and 34 seconds, which is the length of the podcast. So if you did listen to it, you probably listened to the entire thing, which again, super surprising. I thought people would listen to maybe 5 minutes and think, oh man, this got a little old, but you guys stuck through for the entire hour of me talking. So that was very encouraging. Thank you very much for giving a listen, and thank you for checking in for episode 2. We're going to make some improvements based on the feedback I got, which there was a lot of. Not necessarily critiques, but a lot of people just reaching out and saying, what's up? Even people I haven't talked to in years reached out, which is, again, super encouraging that I've made an impact on people in my life and they're looking to support me. So thank you to everyone who checked it out and continues to check it out. I want to talk about some things about the podcast. First is the availability of it. It's currently available on 6 platforms. The main ones, I think everyone pretty much listened to it on Spotify last time. It takes a few days for it to be accepted onto other platforms, but it is now available on Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, and that's it so far. I think Spotify and Google Podcasts are probably the main ones that people are going to listen to it on. So it is available on Google Podcasts now. People are asking for that, and it's there. I'm hoping that the delay was just for episode 1, and this should automatically be uploaded for episode 2. If it's not, I will be putting out a video to show you how you can get into your Google Podcast, and it will update by itself. And the final, platform that I need to upload to would be iTunes. And I think that this hosting platform I use does upload to iTunes. It's just the exception period is a bit longer for iTunes, it seems. Yeah, they said it should take about 2 to 7 days, which the last podcast went up September 8th. So we're like 8 days right now. So hopefully maybe in a couple days it will be up on iTunes. If not, I'll start looking into how to upload it there. But you guys found it on Spotify. You can find it on Google Podcasts now or any of those other apps I mentioned. If you go to the link in my Instagram bio, it'll take you to the homepage for my podcast. And if you click that, it will show you all the available places that you can download and listen to or subscribe on so that you won't miss any more episodes. Some more interesting things we can look at from this last podcast. Our audience base, mostly Canadians. Not a surprise, 94% Canadians. However, 2% of viewers were in Germany and 2% were in Mexico, which makes us an international podcast now. So welcome to the world. I don't know who the Germany listener would be. Mexico, I have an idea. And the gender We are 53% female in this house, 47% male. So we are more popular with the ladies. And the age bracket looks like 23 to 27 is 67% of us, which makes sense because those would be the ages of all my friends. 28 to 34 is the next highest, 25%. And then we got some 35 to 44-year-olds. And 6% 60 plus. So good on you guys for figuring out your computers. I should not just roast my audience. You guys are crushing it. Thank you for listening. And 97% of you listen on Spotify, 3% on web browser, whatever that means. If that means maybe they listen to it right on Anchor. Well, that's good. That's what I wanted to talk about from last week's episode. Thank you for reaching out. Feel free to always reach out and tell me what you think of that podcast. It was a great feeling reading all the messages, chatting with people I haven't chatted to in a while. So yeah, feel free to message me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm getting a website going soon. So let's talk about what I want to do for this podcast is kind of these intro, like 15, 20 minutes. Just talk about my past week, what's been going on, give you a little update since the last podcast. Last podcast went out on Wednesday. And since then, what did I do? On Friday, I did record a vlog. And I was planning on uploading that on Sunday, but the schedule just got chaotic. And when I say the schedule just got chaotic, I mean I didn't do it. I went back to Barrie on Sunday afternoon. Barrie, my hometown. I guess I should introduce myself too. Yeah, I'm going to do that first. So for anyone that doesn't know me, my name is Aaron Brock. I am 26 going on 27. And I am a good old Canadian boy. Grew up in a smallish city north of Toronto called Barrie. And I have recently moved to another city, a little bigger, but almost the same size, called Waterloo, Ontario, about southwest of Barrie. And that is where I record these podcasts. I went to the University of Waterloo. I also went to Durham College, got degrees in environmental science and environmental technology, and decided I didn't want to use either of those. So now we're doing comedy. Not even doing comedy, we're doing a podcast and planning on doing comedy. So that's a little background from me. There you got that. Now, what did I do last week? Last week, we recorded a vlog on Friday, and it was super uncomfortable. Walking around, holding a gimbal in front of my face, recording myself talking to it. I was too much of a chicken to actually record in front of other people, so I ended up walking out to a forest. I could be by myself. But that's one of the things I wanted to do is kind of break out of my comfort zone, get used to being on the camera. And the only way to do that is to actually just do it. So I've got to record more of those. I did record a second vlog, which you haven't even seen the first one yet. A second vlog with Henry on Monday. He took me out flying, which would be a much bigger step up than watching me walk around the forest. So look up for, hopefully, if I can figure out how to get this footage off my phone that I've been fighting with all morning, get that footage onto my computer so I can edit it and get it out tomorrow, I'm hoping, and get this podcast out this evening. It's currently Thursday the 16th. So hopefully you're hearing this on Thursday the 16th or Friday morning. And then the vlog as well on Friday, which will include me walking through the forest, talking to myself, and hopefully a house tour. I should go film that as well. That'll be easy to film here. And then the second vlog will come out next week after the next podcast. The schedule I want to try and stick to is probably like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday at some point. Monday, release a sketch. Wednesday, release a podcast. Friday, release a vlog. That's what ideally I'd like to do, but it just gets down to what my filming schedule is. Still trying to figure all this stuff out. I want to try streaming at some point, get some game streaming going, but if I start playing video games like in the middle of the afternoon, I'm not getting any work done, so I gotta like stay off of that. Find a good schedule that'll work for. So, also last week, I went to my first comedy show. I said I wanted to do comedy, but I've never actually seen live comedy being performed. So Ethan and I went out to the Crazy Canuck in Kitchener, Ontario to watch a comedy show put on by Rusted Nail Comedy. There was 5 comedians, I think, a host, and then 4 acts. And also, it was a good time. It was a good time. The comedians were like exactly what I expected for, I don't know if they were just local to Kitchener, but like local Southern Ontario comedians, it seems. And they were all pretty, I think COVID really shut down a lot of comedy shows. So I think there's some rust shaking off and getting back into doing comedy, but it was a good show. There were some good jokes, and even just watching them, it really felt like something that I could do. Seeing where the bar is set for their level, I mean, I don't want to be cocky, but I'm like, I could do that. I could do that. I think so. I could see myself standing in front of the 25 or 30 people that were in the audience and telling some jokes. I do have jokes written down on my phone and my computer and my notebook that I've never read to anybody. So at some point I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to just do it just like doing this podcast. Just do it at some point and then keep doing it until, well, either I find out I hate it or I love it. And that comedy show was on Saturday, and then come Sunday, I was driving back to Barrie Sunday afternoon, do my civic duty to vote. Then Monday, I was out with Henry. We did some flying. Then we went to downtown Barrie, did a little photo shoot. Henry took some very handsome photos of me, made me look great. Those will go up on my website, and we'll throw some of them on Instagram as well, that you can admire me. You can boost my ego a little bit. And then Tuesday, I was supposed to come back after I gave blood on Tuesday. Yeah, I give blood. That's like through a clinic, not just in the streets. But there was a storm on Tuesday night, and that kind of held me back in Barrie, so we had to stick around in Barrie until Wednesday. Then I came home Wednesday, was going to record again. There's construction going on right outside our house, but they're redoing all the water lines under the roadway here. So they're just digging up and vac trucking everything. If you saw on Instagram, there's a vac truck just sucking dirt in our driveway all morning. And luckily they're gone now. And that's why we're recording. And that was pretty much my week. Nothing super exciting. Comedy show and flying was really the two big points. Hopefully as the weeks go on, there's more interesting stuff to go on that I talk about. And more interesting stuff that you'll see in the vlog if I gain the confidence to actually pull out a camera and shoot it. But other than that, that's about all I want to talk about for this little intro. We're almost at 15 minutes. That's pretty much dead on what I want to do. In this week's episode, it's going to be one more of a kind of serious topic like last week was. I want to be serious but also silly, which I think that the intro song also highlights pretty well. It's a serious but silly song. And it's an absolutely absurd song. I hope you guys can get through it every week and you enjoy it and you hear that song like, oh, I can't wait for this podcast. Rather than, oh my god, I hate this 30-second intro to this podcast. But this week's episode, we are going to talk about something that's kind of goes hand in hand with my story from last week, which is the story of me, hence my story. We're going to talk about alcohol this week, though, and my ups and downs with alcohol. Mostly downs, though. It's mostly a downhill slope. There's not a ton of upside to alcohol, I'm finding. For me personally, I'm sure for a lot of other people there is a strong upside to it. But we're going to get into that. So, without further ado, here is podcast number 2. Do-do-do-do-do, musical interlude. Do-do-do-do-do. Alright, ladies and folks, let's get into it. Aaron and alcohol. I was pretty late to board the alcohol train. Throughout high school, I never partook until post-graduation, actually. Even at my after prom, friends were all drinking at the house we were partying at. I never wanted to participate. I never felt that I needed that. I never looked down on people who drank, but there is definitely like a part of my mind that's like, I'm a little bit better because I'm not drinking. I'm still having fun and I'm not drinking. And I was like pretty anti-alcohol just for myself. I never felt bad when people were drinking around me. I didn't feel uncomfortable when people were drinking around me, but it just wasn't my thing. And that is a mindset that I probably should have kept for my entire life because alcohol became a problem later on in life. The first time I remember drinking would have been the summer after graduation. I'd gotten a drunk text from a girl I was interested in, and that definitely like sparked my curiosity with it. Getting a drunk text is like, I guess it depends on the time of night you receive the drunk text at. Earlier night drunk text when someone's a little buzzed is like a great feeling because it means they're thinking about you. It really pumps your tires. The later the night gets, though, the more obscure the texts get and the less legible they get. And those are the drunk texts you really don't want to get. This was an early night one. I felt good. I was excited she was out drinking and still thinking about me. And that's when I was like, okay, well, if she can drink, then I can probably drink. So the first night we drank, it was just in my friend's basement. There was 3 of us, Ethan, Sean, and I. It was Sean's house. And I think we were just drinking Labatt Blues, like on his couch, watching TV. We weren't really doing anything in particular. I think I had about 9 beers total in the night. And the only part of it I remember is just I talked more while drinking. That's like the only part I took away from it. There's no like big events happening, nothing
too crazy happened. It was just I was more chatty and talking to people I would never usually talk to. And that didn't really spawn any, wild weekends after that. It was pretty low key. I was still 17 at the time, 18 at the time, something like that. I think I was 17. So it's still not legal. It's 19 in Canada to drink. After that, I don't think the next time I drank, that was in the summer. It would have been New Year's Eve that year. Ethan hosted a party at his house. We had a variety of liquors and booze. And that was the first time I had experience with shots. I remember early on in the party, we had like 4 different liquors, and I wanted to taste all of them. So I just did 1, 2, 3, 4 shots in a row. Terrible idea. Absolutely horrible idea. Because then I don't remember the next 2 hours. There's on and off, not full blackout, but I guess they call it a brownout. You remember some things. Oh, now I'm standing behind the computer. Now I'm on the couch. Now we're playing Mario Party. I do remember very vividly coming to in the middle of a Mario Party game. I had 2 stars already and 40 coins, and I had no idea how I got that far into the game. That was a fun night. No, that was the infamous pizza on my knee night. People don't know the story. The pizza on my knee. One of our other friends, Reed, put a slice of pizza on his knee, and then he saw that there was pizza on his knee, and he was flabbergasted as to how that pizza got on his knee. And that's it. That might be the hardest I laughed in a long time, watching Reed scream about the pizza on his knee, and it's not a funny story to tell. It doesn't translate into a conversation or a repeatable story. But if you were there, you will always remember pizza on the knee. I also remember that night recording some video messages for other girls and sending them to them, singing to them. Pretty tame stuff for a night of drinking. I was still pretty innocent and still happy. And then after that, I don't know if there was much drinking after that point until my next prom. Like I said, I was still 17, 18 years old now, so I couldn't go out and buy booze. Didn't really have any interest in just drinking by myself or anything. It was more like a cool thing you can do occasionally. And then going into university. Actually, no, before first year university, we did rent a cottage for a week, and there was some alcohol consumed there, but we were still in the early drinker stages. So we were drinking Mike's Hard and Palm Bays, which I don't know how our stomachs could get through that much sugar. In recent times, I've tried drinking them, and I can do maybe 2 Palm Bays before my stomach just seizes up with sugar. Ethan was allergic to Palm Bays, so he's drinking it with a box of Kleenex next to him, just wiping his nose after every sip, just dying. Still continued to drink them though, because that's all we had. That was a fun time. I do remember we had booze for probably 3 days, and we were there for 4. And I very distinctly remember taking a night off in between, even though everyone else was drinking, which I would never do. Which I would never do if it was in a more recent time. But this was still early on in my drinking career. And I remember taking a night off and being the house nanny, helping people at the puke tree, recording some videos, just being a good presence and still enjoying my night. I remember that very distinctly. I was not drunk and I still had a good time, which I wish I remembered that more frequently. So after the cottage drinking, probably didn't drink again until we got to University of Waterloo. Again, still, school starts in September. My birthday's in November, so I'm 18 for 2 months. So I can't still legally buy any alcohol. So early on in the school year, we're not drinking much. And then as soon as we hit 19, that's when the pace started to increase. And it was a lot more weekends drinking. But still not a super excessive amount. I think if you look at my Instagram, you can see the post from way back then of our end of semester haul that we turned into a Canada flag, and that's 3 people's worth of alcohol in that photo from an entire semester. And it's not, it looks like a lot, but it's not a crazy amount for 3 young bucks. We can put back way more now. Yeah, first year, not a lot of crazy drinking stories again. There was the ripped pants night where I ripped my pants playing beer pong, taped them back up. You can see that photo on Instagram too. This is back when I still used Instagram, and I stuck those pants on my wall. A lot of weekends going to Reed's parties. Yeah, just a lot of drinking. I remember very distinctly a night in a blizzard going to get booze. It was tough getting booze in first year because you had to take the bus back. So we all got a 2-4 in our hands waiting for the bus, and it's a snowstorm, snow up to your shins, low visibility. Sometimes we took the bus. Sometimes we even just walked it all the way back. Walked through Waterloo Park, carrying our booze. just for a night of drinking. That was, well, what was it? We were doing a Christmas movie marathon, and we were going to do it stone sober. I think we got through one movie, and it was a good movie. And the second one was that Whoopi Goldberg movie. I don't even remember what the title was.
It was Call Me Claus with Whoopi Goldberg.
And I'm not going to look it up because my clicky-clacky keyboard is too loud.
I am, though, because we edit now.
Oh, but the Whoopi Goldberg movie. I don't even remember watching it. I was so bored of it. And after watching that, we're like, okay, yeah, we're going to drink. So we bundled up and walked out, trudged through the snow to get to the LCBO to buy some booze for the rest of the movies. I don't even think we watched the rest of the movies. We ended up just hanging out with other people in the residence. And it was a good time. It was a safe time. Those are the good drinking memories I have, these early years. After first year, went back home and was really just more working than I was drinking or anything. I worked for Hewitt Sweet Corn, selling produce and baked goods. I would work at Hewitt Sweet Corn at the farm stand, and then after that I would go to the gym, eat a good dinner, rinse and repeat. So I don't think I drank really at all for the entire summer. Got in great shape, burned off the freshman 40 I'd put on. I was looking good, had abs, had some visible biceps. It was a good time. And then come second year, we're moving in. We are out of residence now, moving into a townhouse on Churchill Street in Waterloo. And it was a real bait and switch we got there. When we toured the house at the end of first year, it was like, the guys had set it up so nicely in there. They had a bar in the living room. I don't remember what the bedrooms looked like, but all the decorations they had made the place look great. And then we moved in without all the decorations, and the place looked horrible. It looked like a house that had recently had a fire. The living room was painted black, so it looked so small. No space. The hallway was painted dark red, I believe. The bedrooms were like this really ugly green. It was atrocious. We spent a good the first 2 weeks of Frosh Week just painting the house and making it way more homey, super nice. And then our landlord ended up painting over all the work we did, and we just gave up on that place. But that's a story for another day. So second year, yeah, we're all legally old enough now to drink, and we have our own place. We're not worried about the resident dons, knocking on our door. I guess we couldn't even get in trouble before, though, actually, because we were of legal age. Drinking in residence, too, we're one of the few people, Ethan and I, since we went to university a year later, one of the few rooms that was legally allowed to drink, so we didn't have to worry about the cops catching us or anything, because we weren't doing anything wrong. As I said, though, we're now in a townhouse on Churchill Street, and the drinking pace, I guess it definitely picked up. I mean, every weekend, probably ordering some pizzas, drinking some beers, and then also our friend Reed also had a house nearby that we could walk to, and he would throw parties that we'd love to attend. I don't think they loved having us attend, though. The parties usually started at like 10, which is late for us. We usually started drinking at like 5 when it's acceptable. So we would show up to the party like 12 to 24 beers deep already, and everyone else is just sipping on their first or second beer. So we were just a rowdy bunch of guys just walking in and just absolutely raising the energy to levels that they didn't want the energy at. Our energy levels were exceeding the energy capacity of that house. So we did not make a lot of friends, I don't think, with Reed's friends. We were not the fan favorites there, but we had a good time. We enjoyed ourselves, and there were some people we got along with. Others, that's their issue. And this drinking schedule this one actually carried into the summer. The in shape Aaron became a different shape, much more round and plumbous. The working out had stopped, and then going back home, yeah, the drinking continued to almost every weekend, because now it's just so easy, and like it just became a fun activity you could do. And that carried on. I don't even remember if that summer, I guess it wasn't too much drinking. I worked at Costco at the time, working the 5 a.m. shift. So working, 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. So there was no late nights, and you don't really have to, there's no there's no nightcaps needed to fall asleep, because I'm up at 5 a.m. So I'm exhausted by the end of the day. Third year, though, this is what I have written down. Third year, we started heavy. The real thing about third year was the summer of third year. We were all going to stay in Waterloo over the summer, which turned into mostly me staying in Waterloo for most of the summer, even though we had all paid for the rooms. I had a job at Home Depot I was working at, so I couldn't go home very often. but Will and Ethan went home fairly frequently, so I had the place to myself a lot. And that's when I learned that drinking by yourself can make a boring time a good time. So very many nights I'd go pick up a bottle of vodka or something, throw on a podcast, start playing some video games, and just that would be my night. A very bad routine that started, and then that's kind of, I think, where this idea that being drunk is more fun than being sober, and that you can't have fun without drinking. So that really set the tone for what my drinking period was. I never drank like during the weekdays usually, or weekdays never. Weeknights, there was the occasional one, but mostly just Friday night, Saturday night was my time, and that's why I thought it was okay, the amount I was drinking, because I'm like, I've got it contained to 2 days, I'm okay. I never had to drink when I had something to do. It was always just when I had downtime. That's when I was like, whatever I'm going to be doing in this downtime, which was usually playing video games or something, I'm like, I would much rather do this while drinking than I would rather do this sober. Because, I had those early memories of drinking being fun, being a chatty guy. So obviously that's going to translate to a fun time by myself. And had this big shift in my self-confidence where I decided that people only liked me when I was drunk. Drunk Aaron is fun Aaron, and drunk Aaron's exciting and a good time, and sober Aaron's boring and quiet. I now know that's not the case. But at the time, I totally believed that. So you just end up drinking more and more and more because you always want to be that fun guy you think you are when you're drinking. And then you end up not realizing what the whole Jekyll and Hyde scenario you got going on, where you're not actually the fun guy. You're kind of more the obnoxious, asshole, loud guy that's trying to make the whole party about them and really wants to stand out. And while you seem like you're having fun, other people are not having fun. I had a lot of nights of blackouts, like way too many to count. I blacked out, like the amounts of alcohol I had consumed to blackout seems like it's very low compared to everyone else. I just drank so fast because I wanted to get to that point where I was fun Aaron. So the sooner I started drinking and the faster I got through my alcohol, the sooner fun Aaron would come out and then the party would really get started. I had a lot of nights blacking out, and then after a blackout I wake up, and I'd always feel super ashamed, and then I'd want to avoid people. I'd stay in bed all day. I remember like hints and glistens of like conversations I had all drunk, and then I'm face palming, my face is beet red. I don't want to look at my phone because I know I was texting people last night, so I feel like if I just don't look at the messages that they've replied to, they don't exist. So I'm just lying in my bed hiding from the world. Usually would go eat some junk food, get some like pizza or something and soda to try and cheer myself up. But it was never, like the mornings after were always so much worse. Not because of hangover reasons, but because of like the shame I felt inside. And I would always tell myself, okay, that is the last time. No more drinking after this. You always feel bad. You don't need it. I would make notes in my phone like, hey, that's enough. September 15th, no more drinking. Blah, blah, blah. And then come Thursday night, I'm like, you know what? I feel good. I'm over it. I'm feeling happy. I'm on a better mood. I can have some drinks tomorrow night. And then the cycle continues. And that's the cycle I was in every weekend. So I'm feeling bad about myself from like Sunday to Thursday. And then I get hyped up because like, I can drink again on Friday. It'll make me feel better. Drink for 2 days and then repeat that cycle. Just slowly going more and more downhill. Sinking into a deeper depression, not realizing it. Thinking that alcohol can cure your depression is it's not a strong thought. Alcohol is a depressant, so it is causing more depression. It's like putting out fire with a lighter. It's not helping unless the help you need is to cause more fire. Then it is helping. So this period, this cycle I was in went on for up until COVID. I want to say really. I mean, it did slow down at points. But I mean, slow down meaning I didn't always black out. I would still be drinking and like some nights I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to drink a little bit, get a little buzz going, and then I'll be okay. But I was still consuming alcohol on a weekly basis, not on a daily basis. There was some time I took my final term of Waterloo at home. I took them all online courses. I needed 6 credits left. So I just loaded up on like 6 first-year super easy courses. I think I talked about this in the first episode. But when you're doing super easy episodes, when you're doing super easy courses, you don't really have to put a lot of time and attention into it. So I had a ton of free time at home. My evenings were pretty much free because I never had to wake up for class. I just had to wake up and just listen to class whenever I wanted to. There was no scheduled lecture slots. So then there was definitely some weeks in that time where I would drink like multiple days of the week. Every like afternoon I'd be like, you know what? I could get a little buzz going tonight, play some games. That'd be fun. Rinse and repeat every night. The number of times I drank my parents' alcohol just to go to the LCBO the next day to replace it, just to then drink it again that night and go to the LCBO the next day, replace it again. So I replaced like the same bottle 4 or 5 times until I give up replacing it, and just say whatever, they'll notice it at some point, and I'll play dumb like, I don't know what happened. I don't know, it wasn't me. Even though it's very obviously me. I had so many empty bottles and cans hidden around the house and in the basement, in my bedroom. I don't know the amount I would consume, I don't think anyone actually realizes it except for me. But it was very high for only drinking on 2 days a week. I could easily go through a 2.6 of vodka in a single night and then almost pick up another one the next night. I would always buy in like bulk on Friday and be like, oh, this will last me the weekend, and it would only last me Friday, which is surprising for how healthy I think I am now. I've done blood tests and everything. I think I'm good. I'm Gucci. I definitely drank enough for a lifetime though. I would find a lot of on my computer. I found just like last year, like a bunch of voice memos of myself from like 3 and 4 a.m. telling myself like, no, it's not worth it. Don't do it. Stop drinking. So there was this like conscience in my mind that knew this was a bad path. I was the king of the Irish exit. If people don't know that, it's when you leave without saying goodbye. Which, I mean, for an alcoholic, if that's your issues, you go to bed without saying goodbye. Not a bad problem. But I always felt bad about doing it because I enjoyed hanging out with my friends, and I felt like I was ruining their night because I wasn't participating fully in it. So like even we could be like at a bar or out somewhere, and I would just have this voice in my head that's like, go home. The night's done, go home. And I'd just walk out and just find my way home. I did it in Welland once when I was out visiting my friend Quinn. We were out at a bar and I had too many blueberry beers. And then, I just got that overwhelming feeling that I just got to get out of here. I got to get home. I've had enough of this. I think it might be a mixture of both my conscience and also my introverted self coming out, that I've had enough time with other people. I want to go be alone. I walk out of the bar though and start walking down the street, and that's when I realize I'm not in Waterloo or Barrie. I don't know where I am. And ended up finding a cop pull over in like a side lot, and just was like, hey man, can you call me a cab? I got no idea where I am. And then he called a cab for me. I got fleeced on the cost of it, but I ended up getting home safe. And then a lot of nights like that, leaving the bars and just busing home or walking home. A lot of nights playing video games where I'll just hit a point where I'm like, I'm just getting too tired, and I just turn off that power button and just disappear, go to bed. A lot of Irish exits. A lot of walking away, it's a good, I guess it was a good defense mechanism to end the drinking night. It's not a bad thing. It's a little rude not saying goodbye or good night, but it's better than drinking and doing more regretful things. So I think that covers most of the story of my drinking. I mean, there's a lot of drinking stories I could talk about, and I'm sure they'll come up in future podcasts when I'm gonna try and do them with other people, and we can highlight some funny stories about my life and less serious topics like this. But I think you get an idea of what my drinking was like. Whenever I had downtime, I'd rather be drunk than sober. So a lot of weekend nights were spent drinking booze, listening to podcasts, and playing games, either by myself or with friends. And that was like the only enjoyment I felt I had in life. Even though I wasn't enjoying it, it was keeping me from doing other things, keeping me from finding enjoyment in other aspects of life and of sobriety. Put on weight, unathletic. I'm up to like 240 pounds just on booze, pretty much. Eating more junk food too. Just an overall unhealthy lifestyle that I saw no end in. I was just stuck in this cycle of always drink, depressed, repeat. Drink, depressed, repeat. And then eventually one day last year, 2020, in November, it was just after my birthday. My birthday is November 1st. This was November 9th, I believe. I'd kind of felt like I had enough. Something in my brain just ticked that I wasn't really feeling it. So I put on a podcast one day, just a random selection. It was You Made It Weird with Pete Holmes. He was talking to Kumail Nanjiani. Mangiani or Nanjiani?
One of those two. And he just happened, I don't know if it's, people talk about destiny or things happen for a reason. Pete talked about when he quit drinking and why he quit. And he mentioned this book called This Naked Mind. And I immediately went and bought that book on my Kobo and started reading it that night. And This Naked Mind it's a book about quitting drinking. And it was, how do I describe this book? It was written from a successful person who was leading a successful life, but also had this big struggle with alcohol, and that she was drinking every life and she felt it was controlling her life and she didn't need it. Me again. So the book is called This Naked Mind by Annie Grace. I did a terrible job during the podcast describing this, but the book is about quitting alcohol and getting over that fear that your life's going to be boring without alcohol and that you need it in your life. So check it out if you feel like any of this podcast speaks to you. So it really communicated well with me, because I always thought of alcoholics as like the people you see stumbling around on the streets, bottles in paper bag, not shaved, not showered, just throwing their lives away. That's what I always viewed an alcoholic as. I didn't really realize it could just be a regular person you don't even notice. They're just going to work every day, and just at night they just crack a bottle and get into it. And like 2 chapters into this book, I was like already having a change of mindset. Like, man, I don't really need to drink. She touched on all the points I had felt were reasons why I was drinking. The liquid courage, I'm more fun when I drink. Life's more enjoyable when you drink. And that was November 10th. And that was November 9th or 10th. I think November 10th was the day I officially marked down I'd stopped drinking. And there was a chapter 7 in the book really, really got to me. Not because it was like a personal story of hers, that's true, but she was actually reading off some facts about alcohol that I never really knew. And I want to share those with you, because I was told that people should take away something from this podcast, feel like they learned something. So here's a little facts with Aaron. This is from the book, This Naked Mind. It's totally, the way I've written these out, they're totally going to sound like Facebook gotcha facts, where he's like, a study was done, researchers say. I'm not going to like read out sources and cite your sources. If you do hear these and you really want to like dive into the research yourself, send me a message. I can send you a link to the studies that they've done. I can use the citations she put in the book. So you got to take my word for it that they are cited sources. I'm just not citing them in a podcast, because that doesn't make for good airtime. So these are all from chapter 7 of the book, This Naked Mind. And these are handpicked of the ones I feel like most people will be surprised by. Researchers have ranked 20 drugs on a criteria that's related to the harm the drug causes to the user, as well as the harm it causes to the people around the user, but they themselves are not using. And when they ranked out all those drugs, the number 1 drug that came up was alcohol. It has a score of 72. I don't believe this is like a 72 out of 100. I believe it's just a cumulative scale of all the factors, and that added up to 72. Again, in the book, they didn't have the variables they're adding up, so take that as you will. Alcohol ranked number 1 with a score of 72. The second was heroin with a score of 55, and crack cocaine 54. So if you don't know, one of those drugs is legal, alcohol, and it's the most dangerous drug, they believe, in terms of harm to people using it themselves and the people around them. Heroin is like the number 1 scary drug I feel like people talk about in terms of like addiction and ruining people's lives, and it was nearly 20 points lower than alcohol. So that's some food for thought there. A second fact we learned, the World Health Organization reports that alcohol has actually surpassed AIDS as the world's leading risk factor for death among males 15 to 59. In the US, excessive alcohol use is the leading cause of premature mortality. 88,000 people per year are dying due to alcohol. Then that's twice the number of deaths if you look at all the other drugs combined. So other illicit drugs cause 17,000 deaths. That's your heroines or crack cocaines. I don't really know many other drugs. And that also includes prescription drugs, which kill 22,000 a year. So alcohol is the most lethal, which, you could look at this and also say it's the most accessible one. I'm sure there's an argument for that, but that's not to say it's also not safe. A study of 260,000 people has shown that light to moderate alcohol consumption has no benefit on the heart. There's I think a very famous anecdote. I don't even know if it's an anecdote. There's a stat or a fact that people like to throw around that a glass of red wine is good for your heart and that's okay for you. It's healthy for you. And that comes down to the antioxidants in the wine. However, the antioxidants are not coming from the alcohol itself. They are coming from the grapes in the alcohol. So you can just drink grape juice to get that benefit without having to put the alcohol in yourself. Yeah, just you can get antioxidants another way. It's not a necessity that you're using red wine. The red wine is not actually helping you. The alcohol in the red wine is doing more harm to you than the antioxidants are helping you. We do have a greater percentage of lady listeners, so I got some stats for the ladies here. A 7-year study was conducted on 1.2 million middle-aged women and found that there's a direct link of developing cancer in the breast, mouth, throat, rectum, liver, and esophagus. I didn't finish writing on that quote. When you use alcohol, if that wasn't clear. This is not dependent on the amount of alcohol consumed, which is the most worrying fact. You think if you are a light drinker, you're okay and it's not affecting you. There's no matter how much alcohol you've consumed, even if it's a tiny amount, it increases your risk of cancer in those areas. Women who consumed 3 alcoholic drinks per week were 15% more likely to develop breast cancer than non-drinkers. And 11% of breast cancer is related to alcohol. So I'm not here trying to be the moral police and tell everyone what they should or shouldn't do. I think it's totally cool if you are a person who can have 1 or 2 drinks and enjoy yourself. I think that's totally fine, even though those stats I just read you say otherwise. I think, it's your life. Enjoy it, live it to the fullest. I am just one of those people that cannot have 1 or 2 drinks. If I'm going to have a night of drinking, I feel like 1 or 2 drinks is actually a waste in my eyes. If I have 1 beer, I'm like, well, if I don't end up getting drunk after this, that beer is a waste. Beer is solely for getting drunk, not for enjoyment. And that's why I don't drink anymore. If you're also looking for some more information, I just watched a show on Netflix called The Truth About Alcohol. It's about an hour long, and they cover kind of the same kind of stuff I just shared with you from This Naked Mind, and some other facts and information about that if you are interested in looking into that kind of stuff. So after reading This Naked Mind, I ended up going from November 10th to May 24 without drinking. I really thought I would never drink again, and I felt like positive about that. I was excited to be like the designated driver. And also, I was really excited that I could get appetizers again. Because just booze when you go out to a restaurant is so expensive. It like really carries up your bill. But if I'm not spending the 14 or 20 bucks on 2 or 3 pints, I got so much extra room for appies. Like, I'm going to enjoy restaurants so much more. And then I can drive home after. I don't have to wait for an Uber. And I was like super stoked about being like that fun, sober guy at the parties. And then come May 24, I'm about a month out of a breakup. And I'd gone from hanging out with my girlfriend every single weekend, so it was easy not to drink, to now I'm being alone every weekend. And now it's just starting to take its toll on me. So come May 24, I tell myself, you know what? I've been so good for 6 months. I think I'm at a point where I can just drink in moderation. I could enjoy some beers this weekend. It could be no problem. I can be that guy that does have a couple drinks and he gets a light buzz, and then the night's good. He knows how to stop himself. And I thought I could do that. And it turns out I can't. That one weekend started turning to every weekend. I started going from just drinking beer, going back to drinking liquor, because liquor gets you there quicker. So I could just play games with a bottle of vodka under my desk and just take swigs. I'd tell myself every 20 minutes, but it turned into like every 5 minutes. And then I'm back to blacking out every weekend, waking up ashamed and like, oh wow, another weekend wasted, because I don't remember it. Or another evening wasted, I guess, because I don't remember it. I never drank throughout the day. It was always like, I always waited until a point, like 4 or 5 o'clock, where I'm like, okay, now it's acceptable that I can drink. Now it's okay. People can't judge me here. And then we get to August 25th. I wake up at about 6 a.m., I want to say. And I'm looking at my messages. And I had texted Sarah, my ex, like some stupid stuff, some aggressive stuff. Not aggressive, more depressive stuff than aggressive. Like some real self-loathing things. And then I also looked at like my group chat and I had this really positive interaction with my other friends. And my buddy Reed was just like, wow, man, seems like you're really on the right track and got things figured out. And at that point, I usually woke up ashamed of my drinking and afraid of it. And like, I didn't want people to like know about it. And I just came out and messaged like all my group chats that I'm an alcoholic and I don't have control over it.
and it's been bothering me for years, and it's added to my depression, and it just went on and on. And it came out so easily. Like, normally that's the kind of message you send, and you're like anxious about getting the replies, and you're scared. But I felt so good. Like, I finally like let out this big sigh that I've been holding in for 6 years. Like, oh, that feels so much better. That's a weight gone. And I sent that out, and then like throughout the day, it's got so much love and messages back of support, and people telling me they're there for me. And I knew that was the right move I had to make. Like, sending that message and putting it all out there. People were forgiving me and thankful for me and rooting for me. And ever since then, yeah, I've still been sober. That was September 25th. We're now, not September 25th, August 25th. It's now September 16th. And I haven't had a drink and haven't thought about having a drink. My problem was never, the too many days of drinking and always being drunk. It was just those small periods of getting way too drunk. So like, as long as I'm not drinking, it's going to sound weird to say, as long as I'm not drinking, I don't have a problem. But like the urges to drink don't exist because I wasn't used to like full weeks of drinking, if you get my drift. And now, after going through that 6 months and thinking I could do moderation, I now know that I can't. So that's not going to be an issue for the future. You got to build off your failures. You got to learn from your mistakes. And I have learned from my mistakes. So we're at 3 weeks now, I guess. Hopefully in a year, I'll be at a year in 3 weeks. Again, I have no plans to drink anymore. I'm looking forward to a sober life. I do feel better, feel healthier. I remember my weekends, I remember my evenings again, and it's a good feeling. So that's where I'm at. I shared with you the dark parts, but now we're outside that forest, and we're on to greener pastures. So I hope that that little story, it makes sense, because these notes I left myself were all over the place and didn't really help. So I was forgetting what I wanted to talk about. There's a lot of stories I could have talked about that I thought I wanted to talk about, but I didn't. But I think the main message is out there. And I think the people that didn't get those messages about me being an alcoholic and how I'm going sober, I hope this explains that backstory that you might be missing out on in future podcasts. So that's it. I think now we will wrap up episode 2. I think I'm going to do a little outro, though. I like that idea. We're going to do an outro and then a song of the day, a song of the week. That kind of fits into the tone of the podcast. So I'll talk to you guys in a bit. Here's some more interluding music. I don't have a song yet, so I'm going to use this. All right, that was episode 2. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking around. I figure I'm going to do a little outro chat to end off the episode. I hope this was a greater production value than the first episode. The first one's really a get it done and get something out there, more so than let's really polish this turd and see what happens. I knew if I was harping on making it perfect, it would never come out. I had already delayed recording it for so long. After recording it, I didn't want to delay anymore and just wanted to get something out there. So I hope I took the notes you guys had to heart. I hope you guys liked the intro song. I hope I was enunciating better. I am using a different software that I'm doing some editing now. The main things I'm editing, because I don't really know the software too well, is just taking out a lot of my ums where I can. Some of them I can't get out because it's just too close to my other words. Taking out my breathing in places, taking out my ASMR lip smacks, and taking out any other unsavory noises that you might hear. As I get better at this, I think the production value will go up, and I can learn how to kind of isolate more things. I got a squeaky chair that I notice is getting into things. I bang my mic sometimes, which makes a loud noise, but all part of the learning process. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We're going to play you out with the song that inspired our intro song by Rick Dees and the Cast of Idiots, Disco Ducks. Duck. Singular. It's Disco Duck. I don't know how I screwed that up. I love this song. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, or enjoy going to bed whenever you guys listen to this. Take it easy, folks.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Now take what you learned and have a great day. Damn, it feels good to air out.